All right. So we were looking first at our 4 different sampling methods. The first one was simple random sample, which you just have to number all your objects, which we did here. We numbered them all from 1 to 52, all of our cards. Then all you have to do is use a random number generator, which we shared in the assignment and in the link to select the sample. So all I did was I went to the link that has a number generator, and it selected number 40, number 50, number 28, and number 11. And those numbers correspond to those cards. Okay, so now we're going to look at cluster sample, which everyone's already getting ready for here. So with the cluster sample, we know that what we're going to do here is just divide each object, or divide objects into naturally occurring clusters. So if I look at that, a naturally occurring cluster here, you're going to put them into clusters, which you could see here. I did it right here. My clusters that happen naturally are all the spades, all the hearts, all the clubs, all the diamonds, right? Those are my natural clusters. So when I'm looking at that, now I can go in here and use the random number generator to just select which cluster am I looking at. Okay, which cluster am I looking at? Then once you've selected the cluster, you're going to go in and with the number generator within cluster 1, I've just labeled them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 to 13. And that's how they would be for 2. This would be 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 13. So all you have to do is first, random number generator, find the cluster you're looking at. Next, use the random number generator to find one of our selections in that cluster. That's all it is. So here we need to create a cluster sample of 3 cards. So let's put our 3 cards here. The numbers that we create and find are not going to be the numbers that go in here. The sample is asking for the types of cards. So we're going to put the 4 cards right there. Okay. These squiggly lines just denote that these are objects or items in our set. So this could be, 1, 2, 5, and 6. Right? So that's all that means. This is just an example. All right, so let's go ahead and do it. I'll do a random number generator here. We only have to create a cluster with 3 cards. So first, I'm going to find what clusters I'm going to look at. So 1 to 4, let's get one number. All right, 2. Okay, so I did a random number generator to find I'm looking at cluster 2. And now you just have to go in and get a random number. For cluster 2, we've numbered them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way to 13. Let's go ahead and do that. We'll get one numbered there is 10. So I know that what I've selected is from cluster 2, which was my first thing I had to find which cluster, and now I go over and I know that I selected 10. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's do that again. Cluster, random number generator, find the cluster. It's going to be cluster 1. And then let's look, and we have 7. So first I did a number generator to see 1, 2, 3, or 4. It's 1, and then it's over here at 7. So this is the other card. We need one more card. So now we do a random number generator again between 1 and 4 to see what cluster we're looking at. And we are looking at cluster 4. Okay, now I'll go and do between 1 and 13. Okay, so I did a number generator. It selected cluster 4, and now I need to go over to the 12th card, which is the Queen of Diamonds. Okay, so that is how I selected my 3 cards. Those are random, and we have 7 of spades, 10 of hearts, Queen of Diamonds. Those are 3 cards. Okay, but the main thing is, it probably is going to be helpful to glance over this video again as we go through it. I'll pause it for this next bit while you copy down that part. How do we feel about the first 2 samples? Do you see the difference between the method, right? This one was, the top one was just, hey, just number everything. Just number everything and just pick with a random number generator between 1 and 52. The difference is with cluster, first we label the objects in naturally occurring clusters. So I say all the spades, all the hearts, all the clubs, all the diamonds. 1, 2, 3, 4. So first we have to select the cluster we're looking at. And then from that cluster, we do a number generator as well to see, well, between 1 and 13, which one of these is going to get picked. And we got 7 of clubs, 10 of hearts, queen of diamonds. Okay. Any questions coming up? We don't get too many in the middle of the lecture, but text, chat it to me or unmute if you have a question so far. None so far. Okay, let me pause this and I'll let you. All right, so the next group we have here is our stratified sample. The stratified sample is very similar to a clustered sample. So because, let's see if we can do this instead. All right, we'll do this instead. So 5 starbursts. Is there, so stratified sample is divide the population into subsets with similar characteristics. So what are my subsets going to be here? What are my subsets? What do you think? Yeah, orange and yellow. I see it in the chat. Thank you. This guy actually is like that red color. It's hard to see a little bit, but that's red over there. Okay. So what I've done is I've naturally divided these up into subsets. And when we look at that, we can say, okay, well, we're trying to find 6 cards. Do I need more? I need more. See, I ate all of them. That was my problem. We're going to change this. This is going to be just find a sample of 3 starburst. Okay, 3 starbursts. And we're going to call these starbursts, you know, they're the groupings here. We have, right. We have group A, we have group B, we have group C, right? And we'll call this 1, 2, we'll call this 1, 2, we'll call this 1. Okay. So if we have to find 3 starbursts from these groups, and we know that first we just have to divide the population into subsets. I did that, A, B, and C. So now we're going to use a random number generator. You're going to select objects from each subset until the sample is complete. So in the chat, tell me, you know, we're going to do breakout rooms. We got to do something a little different today. Okay, so I'm going to send you into breakout rooms with 3 or 4 people. Make sure you come up with the question, with an answer to this. The question is, what is different between stratified that we're looking at now, stratified sample, and the cluster sample we just did? Okay, that's going to be the questions for you. I'm going to give you a minute, so I'm gonna close the rooms once I let you in. Okay. Here we go. Everybody go on in there, and we are figuring out what is different between the cluster and stratified samples. I need more starburst for this. All right, you guys are back. You got an idea? You guys got an idea? Yeah? Not an idea? Not really? Okay. All right, everybody coming back. Okay, if you do have an idea of what's different between stratified sample and cluster sample, then go ahead and tell me in the chat. Let's see what you have. There's only one difference, and it is pretty small. So if you missed it the first try, this is a chance to see how it goes. I also got more starburst, so we are going to be extending our group a little bit. Now we're going to have 3 oranges and 2 yellows and 3 reds. All right. So the difference with this is, the only difference, actually no one's jumping on that in the chat. Nobody really had an idea? Actually, that's good. Alicia, you said what was actually in common, because cluster also has you break it into these natural kind of groupings, and stratified has you do it to similar characteristics. So that is a little different, that the characteristics is different than the natural occurring order, but they're going to have, like, it's talking about grouping them with similarity. So this one does not rely as much on the random number generator. That's true, Travis. There's one thing that will be different. So let me look at this. The only thing that is different is before, when we had this cluster sample, right? With the cluster sample, first we used a random number generator to figure out what category we were going to zoom in on, okay? Then we used another random number generator to figure out which card in that cluster it was going to match. Now we look here, it's slightly different. Divide the population into subsets with similar characteristics, orange, yellow, red, using the RNG to select objects from each subset until sample is complete. So you start with just your first subset. You do a random number generator between 1 and 3. Then you go to the yellow one. You do a random number generator between 1 and 2. Then you go to the red, the third group, and you do it between 1 and 3. You see how they're different? Where before, with this cluster, with the cluster before, we did a number generator to, randomly pick the cluster and then randomly picked the card in the cluster. Here, we're not randomly picking the cluster. Here, we're just taking it from here, here, and here. And that's important if you have positions, right? If you're doing a sampling to pick your basketball team, right? But you use the cluster sampling on accident, and all you picked were all centers, or all, or no guards, right? With a cluster is not as useful if you're picking a team, okay? Because you could randomly end up with all, forwards, and then nobody knows how to dribble the ball. That's not true. A lot of forwards know how to dribble. But here, we're doing stratified. We've broken into the groups, and now we go to group A. We're going to group A. We do a random number generator between 1 and 3. Let's see what we get. 3. Generate. All right. We got number 3. So this number 3 from group A is in our subset. Then we go to number 2. I have to do a random number between 1 and 2 and 1. So the 1 from the next group was taken. You see how I'm going from this group to this group, and now what group last, right? I didn't use the random number generator to pick which group I was going after. It's just this one, then this one, now C. So a random number generated between 1 and 3 gives us 2. So we're going to take this guy right here. We picked our 3. And they could look the same. They could look similar, right? But the main thing is, this video, it's hard to take notes on this. So, follow with me, and then you could check out the video to be 15 minutes. You could skip between them. The only difference in stratified is that we are just going to go from this group, pick one random. Then this group, pick one random. Then this group, pick one random. Cluster was pick which group randomly first. Okay, random number generator, I pick B, and then I would go about it the same way for cluster. But this one is for stratified, and we ended up with, I think it was 2, 1, and 3. That part doesn't matter as much. All right, let's get all these out of the way. All right, let me pause it. Hopefully this video will be about 20 minutes. Let's see if we can take a look at this. All right, so we have the last sample, systematic sample. And for this, I'm just going to pull out the number generator right here, You can use the Google number generator, it's fine. And you put the lower limit and the upper limit, and then you could just generate random numbers really quick, okay? So most calculators have them as well, but you can use your phones. So let's look at this one, because this one is the one that gives people trouble, but let's look at it real close, okay? So what it says is to put objects in a natural order numbered, okay? So let's use our example here of the cards again. Do you guys see what I did here? Instead of just doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to 52, I did it this way. The aces are 1, 2, 3, 4. You see? Because aces, if I'm doing them in a natural order, that tells me I need to really think about, well, what are the card values worth as far as, you know, if you're playing cards, right? Because the ace is a 1 or 21 in blackjack, but we'll go with it's a 1 here. So I start with ace 1, ace 2, ace 3, ace 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Then the 2s are next, so I go 5, 6, 7, 8. Then the 3s, right? 9, 10, 11, 12. All the way over to 45, or 49, 50, 51, 52 is the king up here, okay? You could have done it this way. You could have done it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. But the main thing is to look at, do these cards have values? Yes. And if I'm doing them in natural order, the most natural order is to number them from least to greatest, okay? You know, it would still be random if you did it from greatest to least. You could still do it, but as long as you keep the same logic all the way through. So I have them numbered. We need to find the starting point. But before that, I'm going to say the most important thing with systematic sample is finding the increment. Let's find the increment first. So the increment, this is how it's going to go. You could find your random numbers here. We got to find 3 of them. We could find our random cards here with the systematic sample. What it's doing is we're going to find a starting place, and then we're going to find how many we're going to skip. Okay, the increment is how many you skip, right? So if we found that we're going to start here at the 5 of hearts, and then we had the increment of, say, 4, then I would go, okay, we're at 18. Counting 4, we go 1, 2, 3, 4. That's my next card, right? Then I'd go 1, 2, 3, 4. That's my next card. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's my next card, and so on till you have all of your sample cards figured out. The way that you find the increment is the hardest part of this, because where you start is just going to be, starting point is just going to be random number generator to find the number you're starting with. But the increment is based on this. The increment, find the increment of each move to the next selection right here. This is what we're going to do. Okay. The increment is always looking at how many items are in the population, right? So we're making a fraction here. And I look here, and how many items do I have? 52. I had 52 because there's 52 cards. So watch. 52 is the number in the population. Desired number in the sample is 3 cards right here. So I go 52 divided by 3. That is always how we find the increment. It's always the number in the population you're looking at. So if it was cards, it's 52. If it was West Campus students, it'd be 950, right? It's the number in the population, the larger thing, 52, divided by the desired number in your sample, 3. And 52 divided by 3 gives us, oh, what is that, 14? Oops. Okay, well, it gives us this number, 17.3, okay? And with that, we're going to round to the nearest number. So we're going to round to 17, and that is going to be our increment. Our increment is 17 moves. You can think of it as moves. All right. Systematic sample, we'll approach it systematically. We put them in order so they're natural. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way here, going up the numbers to 52. And then what I need to do is find the increment, 52 cards total, divided by the 3 I want to find in my sample. So I get 17. Now all we have to do is, from the starting selection, right, skip the increment to find the next selection. So let's do it. The first card that I'm going to be looking at The first card that I'm going to be looking at, come on. No. All right, the first card is going to be based on the starting. So let's see where we're going to start. Okay, so it's 1 to 52. Our starting place, 15. Let's go ahead and go to 15. 15, right here. It's 15 because I numbered it 15. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 13, 14, 15. Right? So we have our starting place. That's our first pick. And now we needed to do how many spaces? 17 moves to find our next spot. Okay, let's do it. Let's see. This is 15. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I got all the way to 32. Okay. You could have just added 15 and 30 and 17. But remember, the moves are based on the increment that we find from the population, the larger group that we want to talk about, 52, divided by 3, the number that I want in my sample size. 17 is our skips. So let's go ahead and skip again. 17 from 32, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. That gets us to 49. Okay. So from that, I found my systematic sample of 4 of clubs, 8 of diamonds, and king of spades. And that was by figuring out the increment of 17, figure out where you start, and then move 17 spaces up the order to the next card. Thumbs up, sideways, down, thumbs up, sideways, down. That one's more complicated though, right? That one's a little more complicated. So if you're here, if you're anywhere in positive territory, it's a good spot. If you're not, just know on Monday we'll be going over this, okay? And then Tuesday we're going to do a mock NBA draft using these different sampling methods to find your team, and then we'll have mock games. So we'll have a champion on Tuesday. If your selected team wins, there'll be some kind of prize. I'll make a prize. All right, we're done with that. Good. All right. That is the breakdown. That's a 22-minute video going over all 4. So I'm going to stop it, and that should be helpful for the homework. I really think that would be enough. Let's see.